Season 2, Episode 8 of Let's Chat with Cat and Pat is brought to you by SlimRx.com and TitanHair.com. Coming up right now on Let's Chat with Cat and Pat ask, how much is too much when it comes to communication with their exes? Also, what does it say about Pat's ex when during his football game this past weekend, Pat's son sought out his stepmom and not his mother when seeking things like a drink, a snack, and even Tums. All that and so much more coming up right now. It is Season 2, Episode number 8 of Let's Chat with Cat and Pat. It is Season number 2, Episode 8 of Let's Chat with Cat and Pat. Patrick Gilroy, Katrina Pateri. It's Monday night. We're back on our schedule, back on time. And for what was supposed to be a relaxing weekend, for the first time in a long time, we didn't have the children here. We didn't have extra responsibilities with the kids. And going into the weekend, now in fairness, we do pick up an extra 24 hours every single week. Our weekend without the kids every other week is supposed to start Wednesday when school starts. But for the next 12 weeks or so, it starts Thursday when school starts. Whatever, it's fine. But going into it, we were both gassed and exhausted, and we're like, we don't have a ton of stuff on the schedule this weekend.
Well, it's because we only have Thursdays off when it's our weekend. So we go like an 11-day stretch with only 24 hours, no kids.
So today is day one of the next 11-day stretch.
Yeah.
You're going to be super peachy by like Wednesday or Thursday, let alone Monday or Tuesday of next week. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. But we went into it like, this is the first time all summer that we don't have something extraordinary going on. Because even when we didn't have the kids for a 2 or 3 day stretch, we'd always have travel plans or a concert to go, or responsibilities with other friends. And those are good responsibilities to have. And we're lucky we've got our friends, but
there are also things we booked in January, February, having no idea how gassed we're going to be.
Exactly. So we go into it and we're like, well, we don't have a lot to do. We can pick and choose our spots. And next thing you know, Friday night, we're at a fundraiser. Saturday is the opening day for Connor's football team, and he made varsity, so we decided, we should, even though it's mom's responsibility, we should go, and we're glad we did, and we'll get into those reasons why coming up in just a couple of minutes. So we do that. That takes up most of the day. On Saturday, we leave there. We're in Merrimack, so we decide to go to the outlets, get a bite to eat, come home, and then Sunday, we wind up getting invited to go to our friend's house to watch the Patriots, who, by the way, they won their opening day.
But that was after we did our podcast.
You're right. We did a podcast thanks to Kane is Able and the Kirk Minahan Network. That's going to be dropping. It is Monday while we record. This probably will not drop until some point tomorrow. But right about now, it drops Monday at 7 o'clock. Kane is Able on the Kirk Minahan and Menner's Minahan Network is dropping his interview with us. And he's a good guy, and he's a fan, and I'm super grateful that he spent the time to talk to us and try to help us, grow our network, grow our business, grow our podcast, and just sort of continue to get the word out there. And the best thing that he said, Katrina, was at the start of the podcast when he was like, I listen all the time because I identify with it. He's got the same BS happening in his life, and that's why we're doing this to begin with.
Well, he definitely had some curious questions too, so it was cool.
He did. So check it out as part of the Menner's Minahan Network. Kane is Able, and see if you guys identify with what we talk about as well. But the best part of the weekend for me, as dad that has had his struggles with Connor, sort of maturing and progressing, and he had his weight issues that are over now. He's got self-confidence issues. He's so intelligent that he's the kid that pushes back because he's like, why? Why do if I know it, why do I have to do it?
Yeah, he needs to understand the whole concept.
And with athletics and with coaches, that presents challenges over the years. You played sports, I played sports. The understanding has always been and will always be that when your coach tells you to do something, you effing do it. And if you've got a problem, if you're lucky and you've got a great coach, maybe once in a while after practice, after a game, if he doesn't have something else to do, the coach will spend a few minutes with you after the game, after the practice.
I will say over the last few years that we've been super lucky to be able to explain how Connor understands things
Yes.
and give a couple examples that they've been able to do that, which like I wholeheartedly believe is what set him up for success for where he's at right now.
So we get the email last week that, he makes varsity, first time he's ever made it. Not only does he make varsity, there's 18 players that are varsity only. So they're the top 18 players on the team. Then there's 10 swing players. Then there's the JV players. Gun to my head, if he had made the swing team, I would have been thrilled as a father. It would have been a larger time requirement for us because you'd have to suit up for both games.
Right.
But just have the opportunity to be on the varsity and play against the better competition, I would have been thrilled.
Well, he was a swing player last year.
Right. So for him to elevate himself, and then I don't want to sound like a braggy dad, but as far as players on the field go, look, the team struggled. It wasn't a great weekend, but it's the first time in my life, and I think the first time in the 5 years that you've been here, I can honestly say that our son was the most impressive football player on the field that day.
Well, the amount, we never get a compliment about Connor, usually. We've gotten compliments about, his appearance.
Or his intelligence.
Or it was so cool to see that he was in, the play.
Right.
We saw his artwork up. It's people that, are trying to be polite or they're trying to notice something positive, but 9 out of 10 times when someone wants to talk to you about Connor, it's a complaint.
It's something like, hey, you got to talk to your son about this, or, he's got to work on that. It's always, they try to parse it to be polite, but 9 out of 10 times, we start with something mildly polite, but then it turns into, but you guys got to do this, and this, and if that doesn't work, well, here's all the ramifications that come from that.
Right, and we've always embraced it and understood it and worked with it and strategized on ways to navigate it, but it was a pleasant surprise on Saturday.
It was awesome. And look.
Well, I don't even think we told anybody. We got a whole bunch of compliments at how well he played, how well he was defending, how well he was taking direction. Then at one point, I think you were almost going to cry when the coach showed him what to do, and he asked for a demonstration so he could understand it, and then that was that. It was done. And you were happy with that.
Yes.
But then he goes out and he does it, not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row. So then the coach is going to...
He's pulling over other kids and saying, because we're right behind the fence, so we can see and hear it all. Coach is grabbing other kids by the shoulder and saying, do what CJ Gilroy's doing. I was just so proud because it was one of the first times I've seen him take direction without fighting back, and then execute that direction to a point where he became the example. And then when I watched the opposing coach, because he plays nose tackle on the defensive line, I watched the opposing coach start out throwing 1 guy at him, then 2 guys at him. And by the time the third quarter rolled around, they're throwing 3 guys at Connor. And
he's holding him.
It got ugly at one point because he frustrated those 3 guys so much that one of them, after the whistle, threw Connor back to the ground. And it knocked the wind out of him, and he was pissed. He couldn't catch his breath. He left the field. The one mistake he made was not telling the coach he was going to. So the coach comes over. He's so cute. Sits next to him and says, "Connor, I had a feeling you were going to have to leave the field after that. Just do me a favor. Next time, let me know so I can replace you." But I was standing there with you, and we're watching him, and there's still 12 minutes left to go in the game, and I'm thinking, and I know my son. I'm thinking he is mentally and physically tapped. He's not going to go back in.
And he's ignoring you as you're calling him. And I'm like, he's doing what I told him to do. Take 10 deep breaths.
Yep.
Resituate his uniform, get himself ready. As the 10 deep breaths didn't work, start over, do 10 more deep breaths.
Yeah. So like a dramatic movie, you can tell that I'm getting antsy and I desperately want to jump the fence and go talk to him. And you're like, don't do it. He'll be okay.
I even did the seatbelt hook.
Oh, yeah.
As if we were stopping hard, stop.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Then, the music, the dramatic music kicks up and you're like, look at him. He's pulling up his socks. He's tightening his laces. And then after he did that, he stopped for another 45 seconds. I'm like, shit. He was thinking about going back in, but he's not going to because his helmet's off at this point. Then when he picked his helmet up, I grabbed your arm so hard. I'm like, I'm so happy. He did it on his own.
Yeah.
He didn't need a coach to come prod him to come back out.
He didn't need to get reset mentally by you.
He just did it. And he earned the respect of his coaches and his teammates and the opposition, as well as the respect of his peers and his peers' parents.
Mhm.
And they've watched him grow over the last 4 or 5 years. And to be on the receiving end of those compliments was an awesome feeling for you and I. Now, the irony here is that it wasn't our weekend.
Nope.
We were there because we support him.
And he made varsity.
And he made varsity.
How do you not celebrate
Now,
that?
his mother was there,
Mm-hmm.
standing off by herself.
Mm-hmm.
And she was not the recipient of any of those compliments because she has alienated herself so far that, like, maybe some of those parents would have gone to her in previous years. I don't know. But I'm sure she would have loved to have heard them. They don't feel like she's responsible for any of those changes. So nobody runs over to her and says all the positive things. But you don't mean to do this. You don't. Like, this is just you being you. You're the world's best mom, and for my kids, you're the world's best stepmom, and we're all so grateful. But you've got, like, before we left for the game, you pack your bog bag, and you got drinks in there for him, snacks in there, medication. Like, you know, chances are he might need ibuprofen. He's probably going to need Tums. We just know how he operates.
If someone gets stung by a bee, I've
Right.
got Benadryl.
You got it all.
Yeah, but I've got like the different variations of snack for whatever food mood he happens to be in.
So, first play of the game, one of Connor's longtime teammates goes down with a pretty good injury. He's coming off an injury-plagued year last year, where his knees were completely wrecked last year. So he goes down first play of the game, and everybody's holding their breath, thinking, "Oh my God, he came back too soon. He ripped up one of his knees." It's not the case. Luckily, it was his forearm. But he's
Another injury. It sucks.
He's having a hard time to get off the field. Yeah. You got the trainer that comes over. Then you got the EMT from the town of Merrimack that comes over. It's a big dramatic scene. He's finally sitting back on the bench with an ice pack on his forearm, and nobody's offered him Tylenol, ibuprofen, Aleve, anything at this point. So you're just standing there with like your care bag in your hand. And you're like,
ready to go.
Does he want some ibuprofen? So we start off with that.
Yeah.
Then Connor comes, he sees us, he comes over, and you're like, "Hey, bud, do you want a Powerade?" So you throw him a sugar-free Powerade. At halftime, he comes over. Well, no, right before halftime, he comes over, and he's like, "Katrina, do you have Tums with you? I got a little acid reflux here." So, of course you do.
Yeah.
Give him that. Then at halftime, he walks by the fence, and you throw a Cliff Bar at him, because, you know, he played the whole first half. He was hungry.
And it's 50-50 whether he was fed breakfast or not.
Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
But, like, these are...
Well, and then before he had the three guys tackle him, but he was taking on the three guys.
Yep.
It was tweaking his back, and he came over and he asked if I had more ibuprofen for him. I said, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But, like, the thing that... It's expected. It's awesome. Like, this is what you do. I don't take it for granted, but I do almost expect it at this point from you, because it's how you, like, when I would go to your son's games with you, you did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You always had stuff right there, ready to go if the kids needed it. When you went to Caitlin's baton things, same thing. Stuff with you ready to go if they needed it. When I go on a trip for work as a 44-year-old adult, you take my backpack, make sure my medicine thing is full, just in case. I've got Pepto, I've got Tums, I've got ibuprofen, like whatever I need.
Well, if you can't get dinner, you have like an Easy Mac.
Yeah.
You've got like oatmeal, protein shakes, coffee for the morning.
Like I'm good to go.
You get stuck at the airport, like, so I'm really good at portable pantries.
Yeah, you know what? You should sell that. Portable Pantries by Katrina Patiri. That's a good name.
Yeah.
You really should, because I think that's something that there's so many people out there that don't forward think, and you do. It's one of your strengths, and we all thank you for it. But it made such a big difference. But from a proud father, proud fiance point of view, when we leave the game and he goes back with his mom, I looked at you and I'm like, holy shit. So we're here against this fence at like the 50-yard line. His mother is hanging on the other fence behind one of the goalposts, looking at the field vertically instead of horizontally. And he knew that she was there. She brought him to the game. Not once when he needed anything did he think to run over to where she was at the fence and say, "Mom, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? Mom, I need this." Because he knows at 13, almost 14 years old, that the parent most likely to have the things that he requires is not his blood birth parent, it is you.
Well, the second half of the game, she sat in the car the whole time. She didn't even watch.
I think she was pissed because And we'll get into this momentarily.
Oh, maybe there's something I don't know. Dun, dun, dun.
No.
Oh, I didn't know if you got like a nasty text. or email or
No. I
something.
think she might have been pissed because, remember, we got there, we're there for like 5 minutes, and she had laid off of the texting in the last week since we sent the email.
Mhm.
And then I get the random text, "Are you here?" Now, in years past, she would not want us to be there.
Correct.
So she would
But now it's just kind of become an expectation that like we go when it's not our weekends to support Connor.
Yeah, it's best
Like
we
that's
can.
just what we do.
Unless we're away on a work trip, we're most likely going
Or
to be
it's like
there.
a 2-hour trip.
Right.
We're not going to go to a far away game, but we tend to usually get those ones anyways.
Yeah, we do
So,
for the most part.
yeah.
And this one wasn't that far away. And
No.
it was easy. And look, we made a nice day out of it.
Yeah.
But, are you here? Question mark. And I didn't respond right away. So then she follows up with a couple of pictures of Connor
Mhm.
and then a video of Connor.
Which
And
was nice.
it was nice. So then I said to you, I'm like, I feel like I should at least respond. So I send one, yes, we're here. And then she follows up with like a dozen more texts.
Well, my favorite was like, I got a great parking spot. Did you see my parking spot?
Mm.
Right up front.
Like, wonderful.
Who cares?
Nobody cares where you parked your car. But regardless, like, she sends like a dozen more. And I think at one point she sent a decent picture, and I liked the picture. I did like a thumbs up to the picture.
Mhm.
And that was the end of my responding to her. Look, I'm trying to watch the game. I'm trying to spend time with you. It's the only time.
But at the same time, she won't actually have a conversation with you. So why are you going to have a text message conversation when you're both at the same game? Like, it's ridiculous.
It makes no sense, but it's clear she's not watching the game itself. So, it's hard because I try to keep my phone in my pocket with the exception of if I'm taking a picture of my kid. I'm not on Facebook, Twitter. I'm not texting other people. I'm trying to watch the game
and be there in the moment.
I want to be present with you and with him and enjoy the reasons why we're there, right? So,
well, it also helped us dialogue with a lot of parents. We've talked to like, I don't know, 7 or 8 parents.
It was
like,
awesome.
Decent
Well,
conversations.
people were coming over
while watching.
Yeah, eager to talk to us,
Yeah.
but we're social people. We've made friends in the town, and that really helps.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my point. I think she was getting pissed because if she was texting like that, she was watching with like side eye, and she's probably upset that we've managed to reinvent ourselves and make friends around here and earn a certain amount of respect as people and as parents, and we're known as people that do what's right for our kids 100% of the time.
Well, we show up at every school event, every community event.
Every
like, we're at all of
fundraiser. Last year, we volunteered. You did the scoreboard. I did the PA. This year, I'm volunteering on the board. You'll do.
And we were trying to solidify like who's the coach going to be for basketball this year,
Yeah.
so we could do the same thing for volunteering.
1,000%. So like all that, it's easy to be a hyper involved parent for a week or two. Nobody cares about that. I think that after seeing the regularity of it over year after year after year after year, especially with you involved, you've earned a certain amount of respect from the other parents around the town. And that goes a long way, because if you had offered, say, ibuprofen to Scotty a couple of years ago, I'm not sure his mom would have said yes, because she would have been like, who is this
person?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they know who you, like, you're just Kat, or you're Katrina, or you're Patrick's fiance, whatever you're known as a member of this community, of this town. You're Wolverine, just like these kids are, just like I am. And that goes a long, long way. But my question for you regarding, A+ for everything that you do and bring to the games and take care of the kids. You got frustrated with me over the last couple of weeks, or frustrated with my ex-wife for too much communication or showing up here randomly and all that stuff that she does that makes us all uncomfortable. It puts me in a really tough spot because I don't want to say it out loud sometimes, because I don't want the kids to get word of it. I'm trying to reinvent my relationship with my daughter. I want my son to be confident and happy and comfortable in both places, because when he's happy in both places, then it makes our time off better. So I'm stuck in this weird place. But she was crossing the line left and right over the last month.
Well, it's just like it's a constant like pissing contest. It's like you filed for divorce, you left this house, you accepted the lump sum that you wanted to get out of here. She completely wanted you like dead out of her life and just wanted the money that came in for it. Like that was it. That was the message.
Well,
Like,
that's how she lived for like up
So-
until 6 months ago. Like,
right. So you can't change that on a dime, especially with no apology or no, even if there's not an apology, it's like, I know we're going on to year 5 of being divorced. Let's call bygones be bygones and just like clean slate.
do what's right for
kids,
all of us,
Like,
the kids.
no apologies, no nothing, but just like olive branch, put it out there. Totally fine. This woman is still not spoken to me.
She did send you a response to an
Well,
email.
So my response to how angry I've been over everything is like, it truly is a pissing contest. And then after I was getting mad and fuming and you're getting mad at me that we're going on like 2 weeks of me being pissy, I was just like, you know what? My nickname in high school was Cat P. So I'm just going to piss all over the situation and mark my territory.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
And it's just like, when I have people on the Wolverines and on the board and other moms are messaging me saying that she's asking for what the schedulers are asking for the information on what she's supposed to do over the weekend because she hasn't signed up or done any of the emails that I've sent, I just decided I'm just going to be super specific and just send the emails directly. And I'm not going to use you as a middleman because we all know I'm the better schedule. She didn't get permission for me to do it, but I just don't care because it's in Connor's best interest. And if she doesn't get there, that's fine. And then after like 2 days, I know it probably killed her. I got a thank you. But my favorite is I get a thank you signed Ann Gilroy.
Yeah, and and this is a woman.
Did like everybody else, she's known by her maiden name, but when she responds back to me,
here's my problem with that, and I think we should do a whole show on this because it's something that I have researched and looked up because there's a huge community of people out there that hate what she's doing with that. So she hated my family the whole time. Where like had no use for my sister, hated my father's politics, thinks my mother is the devil reincarnate, like. And she wasn't shy about sharing those feelings about my family, not only with me, but with my kids, her kids. So like their grandparents, my kids still with their grandmother, they struggle to have a good relationship with her because of all the terrible things that their mother has said about over the years.
And she's wanted to keep the name.
But she wants to keep the name.
And most people, if they hate the significant other that much, you change the name.
Isn't losing
in this day and age, it's easy to change the name.
But isn't losing the name like
a sense of freedom, a sense of independence?
Like I get it. With your first husband, he wasn't a bad dude. It was a circumstantial thing. Whatever. Your second husband was a bad guy,
and I wanted like any way to disassociate.
Weren't you like? Wasn't it freeing when you finally had the paperwork done? And it became official that like he lost his last name.
100%.
Right.
And anything that I could change before it was actually official, I changed.
Right, you wanted no association with that person.
The any way that I can speed it up, and it cost me almost like $500 to change things.
Oh.
And I had a great passport picture. I had to lose that for the terrorist one that I have now. It's a horrible passport picture.
Whatever.
But part of me is going to be spiteful here, and I know that you're like a little bitter that I want to keep my maiden name. And at this point,
I'm not bitter.
It's like professionally, that's my name. It's worked out well to keep my maiden name.
You're talking after we get married.
And after we get married. So social media, stuff like that, if people want to address invitations, whatever, Mr. and Mrs.
No, don't. No,
totally fine.
This is what bothers me about this conversation, okay? It's that when we talked about this very early on, I said, I get it. I've been through this before with my ex-wife. Like, I understand. I have no problem with you keeping your last name, on your license, on your passport, professionally. I have no problem with it. But don't minimize or gloss over the fact that, when our website for the podcast or the description of the podcast, no, you're going to become Katrina Gilroy.
That's
on Facebook,
fine.
You're going to be Katrina Gilroy. On Twitter, Katrina Gilroy. When we send out invitations to a Christmas party or we send out cards to people, it's coming from, Mrs. Patrick Gilroy. And if that's not okay, we got a problem.
But do you know what's going to be my absolute favorite?
What's that?
When I don't legally change my name, and my last name when we get married is going to stay Patiri, and I bring you and the children over on the health insurance, and she has to take the children to the doctor's office and has to put the primary as Katrina Patiri.
Yeah, I can't
and
wait.
My last name is not going to match. Like that to me is going to be a little bit of bittersweet.
It's going to happen.
And you're smirking to that one. I'm like, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it also requires just a little bit of devilishness in you to think, to think that far ahead, but I'll take it.
Well,
Like,
it's also cost savings.
of
So.
course it is. But like, no, I have no
It's better
honey,
insurance.
we're pushing. Like, I'm in my mid 40s. You're going to be there in a couple of years. Like, we've said this a dozen times. We're trying to get 25, 30 good years out of what we have.
Yeah.
We deserve it, and we've earned it, and I hope we get it. I'm not going to get caught up on the last name on your driver's license. I don't want to live in a world where we send out a Christmas card, it's not from Mr. and Mrs. Gilroy. But that's very different from how you're addressed at your job or what your legal documents have to say.
Right, and clearances and stuff.
But that's
yeah.
but that part's important to me. So it sort of irks me more when you gloss over it and you're like, oh, whatever. So, no, it's not whatever. It's important. Just like what's important to you is important to you. That part's important to me.
Yep.
So please don't gloss over it next time.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'm gonna be super happy with the health insurance card.
Oh, it's gonna be such a baller move. Like, it's gonna be a baller move and a half.
It's like passive aggressive on health insurance.
Well,
it's great.
But if you legally, if you did decide to become legally Mrs. Patrick Gilroy, I'm curious because I don't know the answer to this question. Can there be two Mrs. Patrick Gilroys? Like, because if she doesn't legally change her name, yet we're not married, how does that work?
I don't
Is there
know.
a requirement for her to change her name after we're married if you take my last name? Because then...
There is not. All I know is the second we get married, because you were married over 10 years, if you were to pass away before we get married, she gets to collect your Social Security.
You talk about this quite a bit. It really freaks me out.
Well, my father collected it for my mother. This is how I know.
Okay.
And like, I really just want to make sure like that doesn't happen, and and then I get to control like what happens for the kids.
But when we
how
get
the
married,
kids get taken care of.
When you and I get married,
all that is null and void.
No, but let's say she never remarries. Do I get hers in perpetuity?
Yes,
like, if she were to die?
Yeah, but she didn't work all these years, so like,
I
don't know how much that's going to be. But yeah.
Yeah, like a check, a paper check in the mail for 9 cents once a month.
Yeah.
From Ann Gilroy.
You're right. Like, my mom worked a decent amount, so my father,
he got a little something. But he needed it because at that point he became a single dad.
100%.
Right, like that's why they do it. Like, especially if you get kids involved. I understand that, but it's just the irony of it's her weekend. She gets them to the game, and look, credit to her because for everybody else it's like expected. But with us, we're driving to the game, and we're like, let's just hope he gets there on time. He's got the right uniform on.
Well, and I emailed everything with more than 48 hours notice.
But we've done this
But like
before.
not too far ahead of time that she can forget. So.
But like we did all those things, and then lo and behold, we get there. He's there. He starts. He's on the field. He looks good.
Right color socks.
He's
ready
to go. So all the credit in the world. Whatever. She got him there on time. Awesome. And in the right uniform and in the right headspace. But then the second, like, he's a kid. It's a long game. It's hot out. He's in full pads. You know he's going to be thirsty at a minimum. He's carrying a decent amount of weight, and he plays nose tackle, so he's down, like, bent over the whole game.
He spent, he played 70% of the game.
Of course. But he's going to get sore. So, and sometimes I swear with him, the Tums or the ibuprofen, it's
a mental thing.
It's a mental thing.
Yeah.
But to just be able to, he asks for it, give it to him, and he's right back on the field. He doesn't stop playing to get it. He's taking a breather. Coach pulls him off because the offense goes on, and he has the ability just to throw it to him, give it to him. He sucks it down, and he's right back out there ready to go. It's a mental thing 100%. But the fact that you didn't birth him and you didn't know him until he was like 9 or 10, and you're the one that stops me on the way out the door to say, nope, wait, stop. I just need to make sure Connor has everything he needs. And I said to you, well, don't forget, it's his mother's weekend. You're like, yeah, we're not going to proactively bring it to him. But if he needs it, I just want
to have it. I mean, you have to remember, I'm the one who spends the most time with him.
But lo and behold, he needed everything you brought.
Yeah, like between you and her, I'm the one who spends the most time with him.
You do work from home.
Well, exactly. So like working from home gives me the luxury to be able to be here. And even with my old job, like when it was a no school day or anything like that, I was able to work it out to like be home. But I'm the person he probably sees the most. So
but
I picked up on the habits, that's all.
But how much is too much with the communication? And I only say this because when I first met you and through the first 3 years that we were together, you had regular.
It was not
Hold-
the first 3
no.
years. You made me nip that in
No.
the butt before I moved in.
No.
Yeah,
no,
you did.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Nope, I didn't.
Oh, you know what? It decreased, but Roger wasn't 18 yet.
Correct.
That's it.
Correct. So the first, I'll call it first 2.5 years. But for the previous 17, 18 years, including a relationship and a marriage that from the time you met your second husband till the time you guys got divorced, you were together for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So through that second substantial relationship, and then you had one other one that was off and on and off for years, you still maintained and managed to text, talk to, be in constant communication with your ex-husband daily.
Well, the 5 years to my second ex-husband, he had a daughter, and I had the same level of communication with her mom.
Yeah, but mom was 3,000 miles away.
Mom was 3,000 miles away. I was also like an awesome stepmom then. I was Mommy Katrina then, because she was young. But I had regular communication via text, via phone, via email. Like, and I actually met her. Like, we actually had like a meal.
Honey, I get it. I get it. But if you hadn't met me, and maybe it's because I was jealous, or this is my own insecurities, and thank God you were willing to play along with me, because if you weren't, then maybe we wouldn't be here today. But if I never came into the picture, at this point you've been divorced from Roger's dad for 20 years. Do you honestly believe you still wouldn't hear from him 5 days a week? If I never came into the picture.
I was really counting down the days for Rogers to be 18 to minimize. I was really all about like the good co-parenting communication and keeping a friendly relationship. But once my child becomes an adult, that needs to be the primary communication.
Okay. That's cute. It's like you sell it really well, but you know that you were so much more than that. Like, you were.
Well, I mean,
you walk into his house right now, there's pictures of you on the walls.
God, probably.
No, not probably. Like last time you were in his house.
We got a new house. I may not be up anymore.
So you got a new house last year. Before that, you have to assume somebody who never buys anything new except chicken patties and water bottles. You have to imagine
because I pay for them.
Right. Who pays? We
pay for them.
Jesus Christ! Like, come on, give me a little bit of credit. I always say that we pay my child support and alimony, right? Because without you, I never could have been able to keep up with it over the years. We pay for all of it. It's what we do. But I
just say because I manage all the finances.
Right, but
so,
you walked into his previous house many times, and were there not pictures of you hanging on the walls?
You know there was, because you walked into his house.
Right.
You saw them.
Okay,
I saw the fridge.
It's so fucking weird. Like, at that point, you're divorced for 17 years, 18 years, and there's more pictures of you there than there is here. I'm like, what is going on right now? No wonder why the poor kid comes to me on his 18th birthday and says, Mom and Dad are soulmates. Yeah. Like, he has grown up like this. So, how much is too much? I don't know. And I don't know who did it right or who did it better. I don't like the way that me and Ann did it. I don't, because that 4.5 years where there was so much hate and so much friction, I think it fucked up the kids.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, but I don't like the way that you guys did it either, because pretending that you guys fell in love and had a typical love story and had a life and it just didn't work out, but you maintained we're best friends forever. Like, I don't think that did your kid any favors either, because it gave him a skewed vision or version of what his reality was.
Well, I never said we were best
friends.
No,
but he doesn't listen to you.
That's true.
Like, he listens to you when it comes to finances, important things, advice,
like getting a job,
all of that. But when it comes to day-to-day emotional bullshit, like, his father, you've told me this 1,000 times.
His father is the one who's in his ear.
He's very manipulative, right?
Yeah.
So it's easy to manipulate when you have that person in your ear constantly. So that's why I wrote it down for this weekend. Like, this show, how much is too much, and is there a right way to do it? Because I'm not convinced either one of us did it the right way.
I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way. I think it's the same thing with like parenting. It's like you don't know. It's just trial and error.
Well, with the parenting, isn't it really all about the parent's ability to adjust to their unique child's needs? Because if you look at Roger, Caitlin, and Connor, all three of them have got some awesome attributes. And all three of them have got some attributes that, like, we would, in a perfect world, would like to adjust or change. But we have to treat all three of them differently because they're three uniquely different kids.
I think the thing is that yes, you need to meet with the unique needs, but I think that the number one thing is like at some point where you and your ex, did you have like same parenting values or same parenting outcome for the kids? And you and yours do not. And mine and Roger's dad.
Don't say you did, because you didn't. You didn't.
Well, like, we wanted him to play sports. We wanted him to do well in school.
Sure.
We wanted him to go to college. Like, the basics were in common.
Sure. Okay.
Of, like, the end goals. Can you honestly say that the basics are in common with your children?
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
They're not at all. But I can also make the argument that, he wanted him to play sports so he could be the coach and have the world's longest signature line.
Well, that's true, but at least there was some socialization. And when it came to, is he going to get a cell phone? Are we going to let him on social media? But we were aligned.
Why did he have an opinion in that at all? Because if he got a cell phone...
He didn't have an opinion. It's like, I'm going to get him a cell phone at this point because he's old enough and there's no longer a pay phone or a phone he can use at the middle school. But I'm not going to allow him on social media. Are you going to argue with me on this?
But
no. Okay, great. Thank you.
But who is going to pay the bill?
Oh, I was always going to pay the bill.
So, like, that's my point. Like, why even bring him into the conversation? Why show him that much respect?
Well, because I just wanted to know, like, if I'm going to go down this path, are we going to have an argument? Are we going to have a conflict? Because if we're going to have a conflict, then I'm not getting a freaking cell phone.
Like, it just, you paid for everything, so it made life easier for him just to go along to get along because the gravy train continued to come.
Right, but that, like, him going along to get along and preventing Roger from being on social media was like kind of a big deal.
Kind of, but it was early social media too. It wasn't real.
Yeah.
It wasn't like today. It wasn't like today.
Mean, if we could have had the securities against Caitlyn on social media,
it would have been nice.
What a difference would have that made?
But again, like, Snapchat didn't exist. Tinder didn't exist. Twitter didn't exist. It was Facebook.
Right, but they could all be regulated on the phone, and I did pay for Caitlyn's phone at that point, but that was a huge freaking court battle.
Of course it was. You guys had some similarities in that regard, but again, I still feel like Dad went along with you just because, okay, Roger's going to get a phone. I'm going to find a way to, like, manipulate the cell phone guy. I'm going to get a family plan out of this, and Katrina's going to pay for it.
But did it make it easier? To go along. For him just to go along. Did it make it easier?
Yeah, because he got something out of it for himself.
He got something out of it for himself. But
like, you paid his cell phone bill. You paid his car insurance. Like, you paid your ex-husband's cell phone bill. You paid his...
I never paid his cell phone bill.
You don't think you did, but you never thought you paid his car insurance bill, and you were doing that for years.
Yeah.
They share the same name.
Right, but I never paid his cell phone bill.
Okay. So you paid his car insurance bill up until 2 years ago and never questioned it because you didn't want to have a fight. We still pay for his groceries. You don't question it because you don't want to have a fight. And he's going to be 21 in November, and you started the segment saying that you were just going to do this until he was 18. So, like,
no, I was just going to be, like, regularly talking to his dad till he was 18.
But here's my point, and I don't want to get into a fight over it, but here's my point. If you were to shut off the card tomorrow, right, and just be like, Roger's 21 in November, this is all bonus time, it's bonus years. We had talked about doing this till he was 18. He got 3 bonus years out of it. I can't afford it anymore. They don't know what your finances are. They don't know. And you used to tell me that the
problem is that they know my character and they know my work ethic. And so.
But why is it? But you know that you're feeding his dad. So why is that your responsibility?
Well, we give the money to Roger and he chooses to do that. And I tell him every month he doesn't need to choose to do that. And when he asks for more, it's a hard no.
No, I get it. I just...
Like, that is what Roger is choosing to do with his allowance, it sucks.
But so you have cut way down on the communication, which has been great for you and I.
And the reality is like, if Caitlyn goes to beauty school, we're going to do the same thing for her.
Of course we are.
So I'd love to see...
But Caitlyn's not going to give...
Caitlyn's not as nice.
Caitlyn's not going to give 80% of that money to her mother, and we're also going to pay it directly to the beauty school. And, it's important to say for whatever, but, like, your kid lived with you 90% of his life. Then his father gets a good government job and says, hey, if he lives with me, he'll get to go to school for free for college. And that...
Which was great, because I had, like,
right,
minimal college
But
money.
That didn't happen. So now, every time he comes here, what leads off dinner is his worries about his student loan debt
Mhm.
and how much you paying this year.
And
One day
again, that is my favorite catchphrase.
Not my fucking problem. Right.
Because you didn't partner with me.
right.
So-
I get it, but as a mom, you still feel the guilt, and it still.
I do still feel
I know,
guilt,
and
but
it
that was
hurt-
the path he chose.
but it hurts you and I because you
That's
feel the guilt.
path he chose. That's the debt that he's getting. And at the end of the day, the 4 years that he's been in college and we've been giving the $500 allowance,
He could have been putting that towards his debt.
he could have been putting that towards his debt. It's also the same amount that we're going to pay for beauty school, and Connor's definitely going to get way more money.
But I never told you that either one of my kids was going to go to school for free, and I'm just wondering,
it's still going to be fair and equitable about between the
oh,
children.
yes.
Although Connor, if things stay the same way with Connor, he's going to get more from us than the other two did.
Would Roger have been better off as a human being and as a young man if free college never became a thing? So therefore, you never had a reason to take your 90% of the parenting time and allot dad to have it when he was 16 years old
Yeah.
to guarantee that free college. You tell me, would he be better set up to be a successful young man today if he had just stayed with you and accrued the same college debt that he has right now?
Yes.
Okay, right. And
But there's also a possibility that wherever he wanted to go to school, if he didn't go here, that I was going to move with him so that I could buy near where he was.
he was never going to leave. He was never going to leave. You know that now. Like, you know that now.
But that was the conversation.
Okay. You had also were going to Ireland when he graduated high school, and
Well, and if he stayed living with me, he probably would have.
and you were supposed to be going to Vegas next month
And
for his
again,
birthday.
if he stayed living with me, he probably would still
Right.
travel and get on a plane.
I guess my point is how much is too much, and that's why I wrote it down, because
It's-
I'm getting ding 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 texts, from her during the game,
I don't know if there's a right answer or a right decision.
and I thought it was creepy. Like on our third date, it was holiday time, and he's texting you asking for advice because some broad he's banging bought him a T-shirt for Christmas, and he didn't buy her anything. He doesn't know what to do about it. And I'm like, why is he asking you about this? You guys have been divorced for 17 years. You've had 2, if not 3, significant life-changing type relationships in the
He's
meantime.
his best friend.
Right, but
Like-
why are you the person that's always his crutch?
Because we had a kid and I'm stuck. But now Roger's over 18.
Do you
I'm
think
not that
do you
stuck
think
anymore.
Anne feels stuck? Because she doesn't lean on me emotionally.
No,
doesn't
but
le-
she leans on you financially.
She does.
Like she's totally fucking screwed in 2 years.
And here's the difference, and here's where I think that we gotta be happy to meet in the middle on this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna help the kids out beyond the course of the divorce decree.
Hold on, before you go on this point.
I'm not going on a point here.
I did help with job placement. I did help with resume. I did help with
With your ex-husband. I know.
different things that he could apply for to get like reduced heating and different stuff like that for him to help get by, and educated him on that stuff so he can do that on his own.
You also paid for his bachelor degree.
Well, we were married then.
What the wait? That's your go-to excuse.
Okay, I'm sorry. How many things have you paid for your ex-wife?
No, but
come
stop
on.
it. Stop it. He was already in the midst of getting his bachelor degree or completed
Right,
it, and there was
but-
debt, and you paid for
But
it.
having a decent relationship, he was willing to take my help to help him get set up for success, to do more stuff independently. I've also offered the same to your ex-wife
I know.
and gotten a that's abusive response. And there's tons of things that she could qualify for. There's tons of things that we could help her with. And if she ever said, even without a conversation, she wanted that help or wanted the links or wanted more information, we would do it. But there's a refusal there.
What did Kane say yesterday when we had our discussion with him about the $500 a month and that your son gives $400 of it to his dad?
That's generous.
No, that's not what he said. He
Mhm.
said that's embarrassing. I could never be a man that accepts that kind of.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay,
But
like,
you know what?
that's what you marry. You married a guy that.
Right. You also married a woman that has no shame in taking money from me every
Yeah,
Christmas.
but hold on. The one difference is this. What if we had marked on our calendars? So, for going into 2023, we had on our calendar the last day of our health insurance.
Okay.
And that got pushed back by the court.
and you lied to me about it.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Mhm.
No, I didn't. She got an extra 6 months. So then we circled the next date. And on that date, it went away. And now the next thing is when Caitlin turns 18. That's circled. That
right,
goes
but we're
away.
still going to shift and do something for Caitlin.
We are assuming she's in school.
If she's not,
If she's not in school and she's out
then-
fucking around, she's not getting anything.
and if Roger wasn't in school, he wouldn't be getting shit.
But what does Roger being in school have to do with feeding his father?
It doesn't. Like, that allowance was for him to pay for parking, to get food, to pay for gas, to do different things. He chose to buy $400 worth of Market Basket gift cards to give to his
I don't
dad.
think you pay. I know in the last 2 years, I think you paid for parking 1 out of the last 2 years. The other year,
No, I never paid for
but
parking.
his father brought you out for coffee to explain to you how he couldn't afford the parking.
Right, I've never paid for
but
parking.
you still have to go have that guilt-ridden, awful conversation.
That was the time I had the conversation.
No, you had it twice. You had it his freshman year and sophomore year.
Well, the sophomore year, it was via phone for 5 minutes, and I said I'm not paying for it.
But like, why?
Like, I think that should be a little Roger
but
expense.
But your answer is never, "I feed your fat face."
Well, no, it was like I also give an allowance. Maybe 1 monthly allowance just goes to the parking pass.
And what does his father say? "I can't afford that."
Yeah, we can't have that. And I said, well, then you're going to need to figure out another way.
So is there when is Roger scheduled to graduate college?
What year are we
This
in?
is so fucking funny. I know the answer to this.
2026,
Okay. And when is Caitlin scheduled to come off child support?
2025.
Okay. So you're telling me that this is why when Kane asked us yesterday if we're gonna have enough material to keep this going. Oh,
There it is.
So fucking are. Like because
But the other thing is when I've given ideas to stop paying the $500 allowance, every time I give them, you poo-poo me.
No, you don't give real ideas. You had one real idea, and your son has not been able to make it happen, which is mind-boggling to me. So you do have a college fund that would not affect us out of pocket, and you've got good money in that fund. The only requirement to get that money out without getting killed in taxes is what?
Is a bill.
It's receipts, a bill, something. And you're not granted access to the UMass Online account, so you can't do it that way. You're not granted access because you didn't pay the parking bill. These two idiots are too stupid just to give it to you so you can pull out the $500 and that covers a bill.
Parking actually can't be claimed with
You know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. But
you buy the books and technology, you don't have those invoices.
Instead of him taking out a loan for his 4th year, what's your 4th year going to cost? I could probably just pay for it.
So wait, you're never going to get that information, and you're never going to get the pay to information to make that happen, and you're not going to get the invoice. Just like we haven't gotten the car insurance bill yet. Like, you're never going to get it. And the reason why I feel like En Vogue, you're never going to get it, never going to get it.
Maybe that's your song that you're going to choose.
Maybe, but like, you're never going to get it, and I think you know the reason why. You're just so happy in the situation that you've been in that you're accepting of it.
You know what? It's not drama that we have to deal with all the time. It's only drama that gets brought up when I bring up drama for your kids.
No, it's the same drama for both of us because
it's the only argument and the only leg you have to stand on. The second we stop paying $500 a month, you have no argument and it's all drama on your side. What are you going to do?
You like to say that I have overpaid my ex-wife and she's gotten a fortune.
Yeah, and part of that I have been on the sidelines saying like we just have to do it.
Yep.
When it comes to like what we do pay for and different things, like it is what it is.
Well, my kids are 20.
When it is with collecting the 50%, like we're never going to collect the 50% of what is supposed to be owed. It is what it is.
When my kids are 21, we're going to be 3 years into Florida, moved on with our lives, and if we pay something, we're paying it directly from a distance.
Okay, and I also said like 20 minutes ago, maybe 15 minutes ago, that Connor's probably going to get more from us than the other two ever did.
Sure, maybe, because he's more of a regular part of our lives.
It'll all circle out in the end.
But this is an entertaining show, so I'm trying to make this entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
You just gave the answer I thought you were going to give the first time, because you and I have talked about what's left in the college account and the idea of paying off his last year with that. But in doing that, the trade-off is the $500 a month goes away.
100%. Like, done. You're going to have to figure out how to make your own.
So if we do that, we're having that conversation with Big Roger at the same time that we're shutting off Caitlin and Ann. It's literally the same month.
Yeah.
So July, you guys want to stay tuned for July of next year, because it's going to get...
It could be another rough summer.
It's going to get explosive around here because,
Well, because during it all, we'll probably still have the heavy on Connor.
Oh, we 1,000% will. Like, well, at that point, he will either have left for or be going to encampment. That's
Mhm.
$1,000 we have to spend.
Well, and it's also another one of those, like, I can't work, blah,
Right.
blah, blah,
But
if I haven't,
But the other
so I'll
thing is,
take 'em
we
extra.
discussed this yesterday, was like he's getting in such good physical shape that there's a couple options around town that at $200 a month
Yeah,
during the summer.
I really
we're,
want him to
We're
do
gonna
that.
pay for that. Like,
He's
like-
also able to get a job.
so all those things that we're gonna have to cart, but he won't be able
Yeah.
to drive. Like, we'll be doing the heavy with that, and we're still gonna give plenty of money to our kids. And all I've ever asked about your son and all you're looking forward to with my daughter is not us putting the money in our pocket so we can benefit from the cash.
Right, but I have 100% said that your daughter will be spiteful and not give it to her mother.
Right, but
My son feels bad.
I don't care what he feels. Honestly, because he's not becoming a man until he stops feeling bad.
I understand.
His
but,
father's not a victim.
But which way is wrong? Like,
Well, this victim mentality is very dangerous, and it's not going to serve him well in life. I can tell you that, because you and I live with that mentality where we are always the ones that come to everybody else's rescue, and we are always the ones that get called when somebody needs a favor. We are always the ones,
I will say for me this year that has significantly reduced.
Yeah, because you finally, at 41 years old, 42
I
years
was just
old,
like, I can't
put
do
your
it
foot down.
anymore.
And mine's reduced too, because my family's all dying off. But for the majority of our lives, that was a huge stressor in our lives, and it impacted our personal relationships, professional relationships, our family relationships, because not only were we expected to be the breadwinners and work 60, 80, 100 hours a week, but then
We have a certain personal accountability that even if we say no, then we feel bad and we have to do
and then we still show up anyways,
Yeah.
every single time. And I don't want to pass that. See, I know with Caitlin, I'm not going to pass that on. She's a little sociopath, but like she's not going to. But with Connor, he might get some of that. Roger does have 100% of that, I think. But then he does things where I'm like, maybe he's not that. Maybe he's just outsmarting us, because like he'll be like, oh, I'll watch the dog for 4 days, but he'll come 2 out of the 4 days and be like, oh, Mom, I was busy, I forgot, or and like he doesn't feel bad that there's a living, breathing thing here.
Well, he's
counting
like,
on it.
Corey's going to be fine. She has a door. She's
It's
still fed.
not
blah,
up-
blah, blah.
it's not up to
And
him
it
to make that
doesn't-
call.
And it doesn't matter.
It's not his choice
Right.
to make that call. But like they're all the same in that regard. I look forward to, because you do have that money in that account and it is designated for one thing, but for you to make that next step happen.
I need a receipt, or they're like, no money can be given anywhere.
Oh
It's
no,
gonna continue to
the
sit
money
there.
can be given. You just keep giving the $500 a month. So
Well, no, like that account is going to need to get emptied, like at some point.
but why?
Well, like,
Why is that- why
I
is that-
can't keep a college fund for a kid who's not in college anymore.
Why is that? Why is that Big Roger's problem? Don't you think he's going to do everything he needs to do to hang on to that $500 a month for as long as he can?
No, there is an end date. I have absolutely no problem with being a bitch.
Right, but the end date is technically when he graduates college. So why does he care if you
Right, but
pay?
here I am in the back end creating like a different way to work around that. And from the stress that my son has expressed or the issues with him working
So-
and different things that have gone here, if you think that my sales experience is not planting the seeds to use that to my benefit,
So with who are you planting the
his
seeds with?
senior year, like little Raj, like he needs to be prepped.
Okay, that's cute. That's special. Your father, since the day I met you, has been planting seeds for little Roger. Little Roger's seeds don't grow when it comes to this sort of stuff. They don't, because I don't know. I don't think his father's.
Okay, well then it's going to be an ultimatum. You get this or you don't.
I think his father's a good guy. I think I want to make that very clear. I like his dad personally, and there is a world that
if Roger
exists.
feels that his dad still deserves $400 a month for groceries. Roger lives there. He can provide it.
Well,
if he doesn't want to pay for
So-
it, you know what? There's a remodeled room
wait,
here
stop.
that he can live in.
stop.
Or we can remodel a studio apartment over a freaking garage.
but
We
there-
got two options.
There's the sales pitch right there. And it shouldn't be a sales pitch. It should be, matter of fact, this is what we're doing, because you get mad at me all the time for not putting my foot down with my kids and saying, you're the father, this is how it's going to be. But you're guilty of the same thing sometimes. It's hard, especially when they're not here full time. And when they are here, you want to spend time with them and not push them out the door. Like, I feel that and I understand that. But that's the pitch, is Roger's sweating what his college bills are going to be. So you're going to say to him, I'm going to take care of your senior year bill, but if that means you have to pay $400 out of your own pocket to give to your father to live there, that's on you, but that's money that you're not putting You're not paying for your college bill. So
Mhm.
it's the same thing. The difference
You're
is,
just shuffling the money and mom saying, here's my end date.
well, the difference is everybody's going to get used to, whether it's my ex-wife or your ex-husband, over the coming couple of years, everybody's going to get used to the fact that we are not going to continue putting that money into the hands of our exes, but we're not going to put that money into our hands either. We're going to continue with the same baseline money that we have right now. The only difference is we're going to get to choose
How
where
we
and how to
spend it.
allocate it for our kids. So whether
And
it's
God damn it, if we want to get a Dunkin' Donuts coffee, we can afford one.
how many times in 5 years have I ever stopped you from getting Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts and going out with your friends?
But I don't do it because like
Because you were
it adds up.
no, you don't do it because you used to get abused for doing it.
Well, that's true too.
Right? You're like a trained dog.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the middle of the night when you pee, you don't flush the toilet.
Well, that's my dad's
No,
fault.
it's your dad and whatever. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. Like
Well, it started as my dad's fault, and then it carried into my adult life. That like then I worry about waking somebody up.
you're not
I feel
gonna.
bad.
Who are you gonna wake up?
I know everybody else in this house but me sleeps.
Like
with
who the
dog.
fuck are you gonna wake up?
I mean, like even Corey just like
Who
she'll
are you?
look up.
I
at
want to
me
know.
if
I want to
she's
know who you're
awake.
waking up.
Nobody, but like in my head when I'm like
You lo-
groggy, waking up, like
No,
it's still like
You laugh at
ingrained.
me like last weekend. You woke up at like 7:30. Not this past one, the one before that. And then you went upstairs. You were hungry. It's a weekend. You made yourself like
Oh yeah,
you made
yeah, we
yourself
talked about this
you
on-
made yourself eggs, like
Yeah.
coffee. Da-da. I wake up an hour later next to you. I'm like, it smells like coffee in here. Did you make me coffee? You're like, no, I went up an hour ago. Made myself coffee. Maybe myself eggs.
Yeah,
I'm like,
well,
so
I haven't, and I left everything staged for when
Right.
you were
No,
ready.
I get it, but
I could make it.
my point is, well, I made it. You didn't make it. You didn't
Well,
go. You didn't go up and make it for me.
No, but I offered to, and then you said no,
No,
I
I'm
will.
not gonna-
And then you asked if Connor was up yet, and I said no.
No.
But everything
So
was laid out and
you
ready to
just
go.
made my point. So you woke up, made eggs, made coffee,
Made bacon,
made bacon, and
nobody woke
didn't
up.
disturb anybody.
No.
So I don't want to hear about your fear of waking us up.
Well, when I'm like half asleep, getting up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I'm sorry that old habits.
You were married to this guy for a year.
Yes, but my father worked overnight shifts at the FAA, and his bedroom was where his bed was the wall to the one bathroom in our house,
Yeah.
and we weren't allowed
I
to
get
flush
it.
the toilet while he
I
was
get it.
sleeping.
I'm gonna pick up my cell phone and see if Marco and Julio are still around. It's been a long time, but they had the world's best cocaine. They're old habits, but they're hard to kick. So
Oh
I'm
my
just
god.
after the show, I'm gonna go pick up a ball and just see what happens. Old habits, honey. Old habits.
Mhm.
Marco was great. He would meet you anywhere, anytime.
Okay. Well, I think flushing a toilet versus a drug habit are two different things.
Yeah, it's debatable. Debatable. But regardless, what else do you have on your list?
Like, honey, I gotta take the freaking.
I know.
meatloaf
I know.
out.
You got to make dinner, but is there
Like,
something?
I gotta take the meatloaf out in 2 minutes.
I know you do. So that's why I asked you. What's on your? If anything else on your list? Because this was fun. I enjoyed tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Did you not?
No, those are great.
This is fun. But is there something else you want to get to? Nothing else.
No, I think I'm good.
You're
I think
good.
I said my point.
Your point is what? What's your point?
Like, I don't
What-
know. You kind of like stepped on it.
I didn't step on your point. Don't say that. I didn't step on your point at all. My point is this: how much is too much? Neither one of us have the answer to that question. And we
Well,
both
I said that like I don't know, maybe 30 minutes ago.
right, but you say it, and then you kind of go against your own advice sometimes for the sense of it being easy, and I understand that, which is exactly why.
Do you ever think that you just like talk in circles sometimes?
No, which is exactly why I got frustrated over the last couple of weeks while we were fighting, because sometimes I just play the game with her because it's easy, not knowing that it's
Yeah, but then it gets like
I-
royally taken advantage of.
no shit, and that's where you're right and I'm wrong. I get that.
I'm not playing a game. Like, this is all I'm doing, and that's it. Take it or leave it. And if you want to fuck with me on it, it's a hard no, and I can happily take it away, and I make a threat. And then everyone backs off.
But that's not what happened. I forget it. You said the same thing. I wish we had the podcast years ago. You literally said the same thing in May 3 years ago when he graduated high school. You literally said the same thing to me. You said
Right,
it's a
but
hard
when-
no, and I'm telling him that, and then
But
you guys
when
went.
Rogers
Hold on.
College wasn't free, I felt bad.
But why?
And it was supposed to be because his dad sucks.
But you lost 3 years with your son because it was free college.
Like, right, but I can't take
But
that
do
back.
you ever say that to his father?
Yes.
No.
100% we had that argument.
And what does he say? You tell me he shrugged. He shrugged. I don't know.
Shrugged his shoulders. I don't know. It changed.
No, it didn't.
It's
You got
like,
lied
what the
to.
fuck? Yeah.
But you lived in fear.
I'm sorry. What mother is going to hear that their child is going to be able to qualify for free college? Isn't going to do whatever they can do for free college.
You made the right.
How is that the wrong thing to do in the moment? And the back end, I just completely got fucked.
You made the right choice. You just got played because I don't think free college existed.
Well, you know what? It was if Roger had an opportunity to expand himself, get a college education,
you did the right
have
thing.
A head start, that was the thing. It ended up being full of shit. And I had to make the most of a shitty situation like I always do.
Yeah, I know.
And here we are with an allowance.
No, it's fine. The allowance is fine. What you're doing is fine. I don't get it. And I hope that one of the things that I hold on to.
But when it came to paying an allowance and also financing college, you didn't take me to any of the colleges. I wasn't a decision maker. The different things that I had going on for high school.
So glad.
I was taken out of the equation. So when it came to that, it was not my fucking problem. You didn't take me as a partner and you lied. This is the minimum that I'm willing to do.
I'm so glad you said that. It's a good way to end the show because I was legitimately just going to bring that point up. And this is why I'm so grateful and happy and my kids are blessed to have you because the likelihood, whether it's Caitlin going to beauty school or Connor deciding between the military or MIT or Worcester Polytech or somewhere in between, the likelihood of them leaning on me and or their mother for guidance is slim to none. You know who they're going to lean on, even Caitlin. Who is it going to be?
Probably me.
Not probably you.
Mm-hmm.
They both trust your professional opinion so much more than mine or their moms because all they have seen and known since the time they were born between me and mom is conflict. So even with Caitlin,
and they trust what they know. That if they ask me something, I'm going to be honest, whether they like the answer or not.
Caitlin has been spending a lot more time with her grandmother over the last few months. And, Grammy reports right to me.
Yep.
That's one of the things that comes up when they talk about you is Caitlin really respects you for your ability to give it to her straight because she knows that mom and dad are always going to tell her what she wants to hear, but she knows that Miss Katrina is always going to tell me what I need to hear. Caitlin's words to my mom relayed to me. Now take that with a grain of salt because those two kind of aren't to be trusted.
Right.
But in the telephone game, that's...
But the reality is like, some people like me, some people don't because I can be blunt. It is what it is. I can be patient. I can be nice. I can be assisting. I can help. But once that patience is gone, like I'm giving it to you straight. I am clear, but I'm kind.
I am going to give it to you straight right now. I can't believe I said it like that. I was literally going to say, we're going to wrap up the show. I made it without one sexual innuendo.
Yeah, we're going to burn my meatloaf.
All right, that'll do it for Season 2, Episode 8 of Let's Chat with Kat and Pat, brought to you by SlimRx.com and TitanHair.com. Her name is Katrina Pateri. My name is Patrick Gilroy. We'll talk to you guys next week right here on Let's Chat with Kat and Pat.